And right, so if you launch BeamNG, and then we'll just see if it's loaded and if we get any errors. It might moan about there being no terrain folder, but file, but okay. It'll have the same picture as grid map. There we are. Davidinark.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Single click. Yeah, everything's good with that. Everything's good with that. And right, so far so good.
Okay.
What we need to do now is we need to load the level, and then we need to remove all of the objects that are there. At the moment, there's no terrain, so we'll spawn in the middle of the air. All the ramps and the pipes and the lights and all the trees and all the jump from grid map will still be there. Oh, we spawned here. That's bizarre. What? Okay. Doesn't matter. So, okay, so generally when you're modding and you're going to go in the editor, the best habit is to press pause. Occasionally you have to move the cars, because if you move the cars when they're not paused, they generally go kaboom.
Oh, well,
and you go big time kaboom, but they're not so bad now, but it's still not advisable.
Well, and then usually when I'm going into the editor, I'll pause and then I'll hit the F8 to free cam before, because if you grab a car, like you said, you know, if you grab a car, even with physics paused, you start dragging the car that you're working on, the game wigs out. So free cam helps secure a lot of that. I don't know if we're doing that or not.
F8 for free cam? I didn't know that. I was always using Shift C.
Oh, I use F8. Well, that's true. Well, you're like literally OG. You're like the third customer they ever had or something, I'm sure.
I'd like to think it was. Best. Anyway, so we're free cam. So if you just like move up a bit and have a look down, sort of thing, from the sky.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so yeah, we've got no terrain. It's generated that terrain on the left. See that square there? It's just on the left. Over there?
Yes. Yeah. My other left.
If it's got no terrain file to load, it will generate one just like that, just in case the car's underneath it, so you can land on it.
Oh, okay.
Everything else you see is a model or a shape, like an object. That's not a ground model that you can put grass on or anything. All that whole outside infinite plane is just a model. That's all it is. It's just a plain floor. So we need to delete all of this.
Oh, okay.
So the moment you're in the object editor, top left hand of the window, you've got there, that's the first tool, and all the ones along here are all the different modes of editor that you can use to make what you're doing.
Yes.
You've got the object editor, the terrain editor, the texture editor, or terrain painter, sorry, materials editor, blah de blah de blah. You don't need all of these if you're making levels. You need objects, terrain paint, and forest paint, I think it's just a little leaf.
Okay.
Yeah, forest editor, and the roads as well. But yeah, the rest of them are, they're more extensive modeling tools, I believe. A lot of the stuff's from CryEngine. Well, it is CryEngine essentially, I believe. Anyway, right. So we want the object editor because we want to delete objects.
All right.
So it speaks for itself. So on the right-hand side, you'll find the scene tree. Scene and library is the difference between what is in your map in scene, what is available to put into your map, which is library. Okay. So we want scene because we want to delete stuff that is already on us. So mission group is the main folder, which has the data that contains the positions and the data of all of the objects.
Okay.
So there are a couple of things we don't want to delete, and that would be the default player drop point and the sky data that tells the sun what it looks like and where it is, and everything else needs to go.
Oh,
so
okay.
If you go into player drop points, if you drop that open, we need to delete everything but default.
And for those watching along, I'm clicking the first one. In this particular case, I'm clicking the first one, holding shift, clicking the last one, and then pressing delete. Okay.
Right, and in level objects, which contains the sky data, we need to get rid of everything in there apart from sky, folder sky.
Okay, so for this one, I will do control click. I'm deleting these bumps too, correct?
Yep, everything, literally every last folder there.
And the Davidinark as well?
Yep.
Okay.
That was the default terrain it generated on our left.
Ah, okay. So that should be. Can I? Yes, here. Need a little more viewing space. All right. So we have all of those selected. Again, I did not choose sky, so delete. Okay.
And now that's good for the level objects folder. We need to delete the trigger and zones folder, like all of those folders.
Okay.
And all of those. If you press shift click from the top and then go right to the bottom, you need literally this all needs to go all the way up to the player. Don't delete the player.
All right. So again, shift click, let me select all of that. We press delete, and it's going to think for a little while. There we go. And we have nothing except our car way out there.
Yeah, this is exactly what you want.
Great.
Now this is a good point now to package up this level, this mod, this level, and then you have a canvas go to any time you want to make a level.
Oh, yeah.
What you need to do from this point is make a terrain and then start building on it.
Okay.
And you're good to go. So we're going to do that, I think, so that you've got something to go off of in the future when you're not online or whatever.
Yes.
So so everyone can see at home. Right. So if we press Control S or File Save. Control S is obviously the easier option.
Okay.
That will save everything we've done into the folder that we've already made that we cloned from GridMap. So, couple more housekeeping things. I always forget.
Okay.
On the grid map terrain, there are some skid marks, like dirt skid marks. They're called decals. They are still in our level, hovering somewhere mysteriously, and we may come across them hovering somewhere as we're making a level in the future. Don't worry about finding them visually.
Oh, okay.
Along our editor buttons along the top there, you'll find the Decal Editor, which is like a little stamp next to the leaf. Yeah, you click that. Now on the right-hand side, Decal Editor tells you what you can put in, and then instances is what is in there. I know, the opposite way around to the mission editor.
Yeah, that's, wow, handy.
Mm-hmm. If you open out both of those lines, now those are the decals that are there. So if you delete all of those.
So do you want me to delete from the stamp or just underneath?
Stamps. I think the difference is if you delete the whole stamps when you save it, it doesn't actually update the files. If you delete these, it will update these files. So just delete. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's not letting me select multiple, which is fine.
Oh no, it doesn't with certain things. It does the same with the road editor. It's a pain when you want to get rid of all the roads.
Yes. Okay.
Right. So I believe we can go and check, but I believe that's all of them gone. So now press Control S again.
All right.
Control S is your friend. You should be pressing it every 10 minutes when you're modeling away and molding the terrain. Because if it crashes and you go back and you've lost an hour, you just want to cry.
Yes. Yes.
So bad.
Yes, you do.
So
all right.
When you press Control S, you can click the X button and close BeamNG.
Okay.
So now, this is the issue we have that's made all of the previous level making tutorials pretty much void, because you can't go any further in respect to packaging your mod and getting it out if you don't understand how to deal with this rather strange way of terrains. So what we're looking at here is our levels folder.
Mm-hmm.
You can see our level folder, but the terrains have saved outside it, which means if we were making a bunch of levels, all would be saving on the outside and being all muddled up and called the same. And I don't understand. I know that they're working on it still, so hopefully that gets changed. So we need to obviously put them in our folder, in our level folder, and we also need to change the name of the entry that the level looks, the way the level looks for it, because at the moment it's looking for terrain.ter and it's looking in the levels folder, where the game files, the level files are telling it to look here. We want it to look into the game folder. I mean, it's such a silly little thing, but it's got to be done. But at this stage, we are not putting in our terrain. We're packaging this as a blank canvas, aren't we? So if you right click and compress the Davidinark folder there.
Do I need to put these? Do I need to put these in there?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Generally, it's a pain because if there's no terrain in your level like ours has right now, it will always generate one for you whenever you load it, whether you go into the editor or not. It will always make those files, which also is even more messy. don't worry about that for now. Just know that whenever you do bring this canvas out, it will generate those. But we're going to make our own, and we're going to delete those, and we're going to tell the level where it should be looking for them and do it properly, like it should do anyway. So, right, for now you can delete those two. Oh, I suppose it's going to overwrite them anyway. Don't worry about that. As soon as we load the level again, it's going to make it anyway. So,
okay.
Forget about that.
All right.
So yeah, this now you have saved to a blank canvas. I put it somewhere safe, out of the way, out of a BeamNG directory.
The zip folder.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then whenever you fancy, I really fancy making a level like that, and you can just bung that in. It's got all the assets there. You just need to get your terrain on, and then you're good to go. See what I mean about there being a barrier to get going? It's getting the files right and getting yourself set up before you can, like, pick up have the brush and the sculpting tools and go.
Right. Yes. Okay.
Right. So if you delete that now,
okay.
All
right.
Okay. So we're gonna make a terrain, and we're going to tell the level to deal with it properly.
Okay.
So we need to load the level up in BeamNG.
Wait. Oh yeah. So I have to load my level.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
We're gonna go in and we're gonna put in a terrain. Well, we're gonna delete that, generate that default generated one first because it's tiny. Pause the game.
All right.
F11 to the editor.
Okay.
Now, terrains. Now, the easy option is to set in a completely flat plane terrain, which you can then begin to mold and make into whatever you want. But it is a blank canvas, and it takes a lot of work. I don't know if any of you guys have seen my section island previews. That terrain was not made by me sculpting the whole thing. There is a method of importing a height map, which is essentially an image, black and white image, where the game will look at the color, the black and white differences, and it will use that as a height. So all the black will be really low, and as it goes gray into white, it will be a hill that comes up. So there's a program where you can generate a height map based on island data. So you can generate a random island and then export that as a height map, import it into BeamNG, and it gives you a basis for an island or a terrain.
That is very cool.
That's how I made Section Island. Well, that's how I started Section Island. It still needs loads of objects and stuff to be put in. But yeah, for a long time, I had a lot of issues with getting BeamNG to actually read them, but you just have to have the height map in the right folder. You have to have it in your levels folder for it to actually import it.
Okay.
Oh my God, I wish I'd known it so much. So for so long, I was banning all sorts. The same with the avalanche climb. That map was made from a color testing image like you get on TVs when there's no channel on or something. And I got the white to black scale, and I put that into a square image, and that basically just makes it makes a slope, a gradient slope from white down to all the way through grey to
oh yeah, okay.
And then I just went and made the road sort of bit in the sides, and yeah, it was easy.
That is cool.
I remember when you did your video covering it, and you were driving up the sides. It was a free roam on my on that mod video. And you were saying, "Oh, this is amazing! How I was like, it's all like hilly, but you can sort of manage it, sort of thing." And that's when I said, "Oh, I need to speak to you about it." Literally, I did not mold any of it. It was all when you import it, it's really jagged and like lumpy, and you can see the pixel differences. You just it comes in very jagged, but then you just use the smooth all terrain tool, which basically everything gets smoothed over one level.
Yeah.
You just keep doing that until it's smoothed out, and they actually made this really nice little bumps that are really smooth to actually climb up, which I enjoyed myself.
You're like the magician who just revealed the trick.
No, people need to know how easy it is to get a decent level start by, not even having to worry about sculpting a lot, because you can do it, but it takes blooming ages. Right. I mean, it's easy to build a hill, but to make it look realistic is art.
Right. Well, and not just look realistic, but behave realistically.
Yeah, absolutely. The way the roads are built need to sort of make sense.
Yeah. Okay, so where do we go for that?
Right, for now, we're going to start by just making a flat plane terrain and then naming it correctly so it will read it right.
Okay.
In a later episode, I'm very much up for covering how to use that free-to-use height map generator. I thought, oh god, this is going to be complicated, and I was within a few minutes of using it. I had a height map to use, and it was like, wow, that looks like a genuinely good little island. So yeah, we'll cover that in a later episode, I think.
Awesome. We're just going to tease folks with it right now.
Yeah. Right, we need a flat terrain. So if we go to the object editor, I believe needs to be selected. It might not. Yeah, it does. And then we go to file. Oh, wait, so we need to delete that one that was generated automatically. So if you go to the mission group on the scene tree there, it should show. Oh, it's not actually come up. Drop that file open.
I'm sorry, do what now?
Sorry, if you drop open level objects, it might be in there. It's not. No. Okay. Look round behind the car a sec.
I don't.
The file's still there. Oh.
I don't seem to be.
F8.
Well, I thought I did, but maybe I didn't. Let me see. No.
Oh, bizarre.
I'm not. It's not letting me move now. That's interesting.
You still?
Let me do this. Hang on.
11?
Yeah, I was gonna say. Let me. Okay. Here's this. F8. Now I'm free cam. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think F8.
There we go. All right.
Oh, it's gone. Okay, that's weird. Anyway, no matter. Right, go to the object editor.
Okay.
And then go to file. And we want to create a blank terrain.
Okay, so create blank terrain. All right. The name.
And just name it floor or something. Just not terrain. Yeah.
Okay.
Then we can give it a base material. So we can just make it all rock, all grass, all dirt. So if you just take your pick.
I'm sorry, if I pick what?
Just take your pick.
Oh, okay.
From the material.
Awesome.
Or material, whatever you have.
Wait.
So the resolution.
Okay.
Resolution there. That is actually the size. At first, I thought it was how dense as you mold it, as you put it out, how dense the net of the grid of the morphing of the terrain would be, but it's not. It's actually the size. So you can have it size 1, size 4, size 16, or size 32. So, but 256 is big enough. All of my all the banger racing scenario levels I made, they were all on 256.
Okay.
You can't expect to make a village or a town or an island with that, but actually, maybe a small island. But I would recommend 512 or higher if you're going for something a bit more extensive. But we'll just start with 256 for the example. You can have flat or you can have noise. Noise basically just puts random bumps in everywhere, but really just basic. It's rubbish. I never use it. If you wanted to use that, it would take a lot of work to make it into something you would, be able to use.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we'll go with flat.
The option that's easier. Yeah. So now we are. If you go down to the grass itself. Right. So yeah, it wouldn't have any grass on top of it. It will just be the texture because we got rid of the vegetation folder. We can easily put it back in, and it's a good thing to cover to explain it.
Okay.
Right, for now, we need to save the game by Control S and then exit BeamNG.
Oh, okay.
So now our terrain exists.
Okay.
But it's what's the date on the time? Yes, okay. It saved it, but it hasn't named it correctly as well. It does that as well. So if you rename that file to floor,
the terrain.ter.
Yeah.
To floor. Okay.
Yeah, and then floor.terrain.json, that should say, I believe.
All right. So basically, we need to rename these to whatever we called the terrain, and it's just the very first part of each of those files.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then if you plonk those in your level folder.
All right. So I'm going to multi-select and then just drag those in. Call it good.
Mm-hmm. Right. So now there is a certain file that's telling the game to still telling the game to still load it as terrain.ter and from the levels folder, not the Davidinark level folder.
Oh, okay.
Follow that. So we need to go to main. the folder there, yeah.
Okay.
And mission group.
Okay.
And then item level.json at the bottom. This contains all the entry data for these folders that would show up normally in the mission scene tree, mission editor. No, yeah. Okay, so see there we've got floor, and it's named it right here. It's the third line there, and basically this is like the registration for it, if you will.
Okay.
So if you go right to the end, it should say, yeah, there it is. It's looking in levels, and it's looking for terrain ter. So we need to put, where it says level / it needs to say Davidinark / then floor.ter. So then we're telling it not just to look in the levels folder, we're looking in your level folder, and it's going to be called floor ter, not terrain ter. Do as I say, computer.
Yeah, that's right.
Basically, submission.
Oops,
Okay, so
I didn't mean to click off. I wanted to. Okay, so it's now looking in levels / Davidinark / floor. Okay, so save that. All right.
Right, now, see, if you moved the two terrain folders, as we did a minute ago, into your level folder, but you didn't do that, when you load the level next, your terrain won't be there, and it will generate that default gritty small terrain, terrain like it did earlier. So now we've told it exactly and specified. It's like, oh, I see, right. So that one, okay, fine.
Okay.
Load the game again, and we'll just test to see if I'm
Sure.
talking rubbish or not.
Well, also remember that you may not be talking rubbish. It could be the operator on this end who didn't do something right.
Right, so here we are.
Oh, yeah.
Terrain, and you're in.
That works great.
And if you press is it the @ key without a shift? No, yeah. It should bring up the console. Yeah. Actually, no, you're American, aren't you? So
I am American. I'm like, no, 2 is going to change my...
way round. It's is it
There it
shift 2? There we are.
It's the tilde.
Ah, yes. Okay.
The tilde key. Okay.
Right, so I can't actually read that because I'm screen sharing, but it looks like... What is any of the red lines at the top?
Yes. Okay, so BeamNG, it's hard for me to read because it's red. On resource response, main GUI, local / UI, modules, dialog system JS.
Ah, okay. No, that's fine.
Image viewer, ski jumping.
Yeah, this is stuff that's a bit array with other mods. Yeah, we're good.
Okay. All right.
It's yellow as well that would be telling us about stuff.
Wrong button. Oh, which I don't have any yellow, so okay.
Right, so essentially now you can come into this level anytime you want, press pause, go in the editor and faff with it as much as you want. So, right, at the moment, the spawn point is like way up in the air where it was originally for grid map.
Right.
Oh, a good point to remember, because this game simulates atmospheric pressure and the cars behave differently between high altitude and low altitude. It's always good to keep reference of where you're placing your terrain, where it is placed in relation to where the spawn point was for grid map, because I believe that's probably about 1 atmosphere, like sea level. So the ideal thing here would be to move the terrain up to the spawn point.
Okay.
Although I suppose it's not going to make it any worse if you're lower down, is it? It's only if you're going up. But if I think the avalanche climb is actually probably about 2,000 feet up from sea level.
Okay.
I've been thinking about changing, but I tried buses coming down the avalanche level earlier. It's sort of not. They don't have. It needs to be steeper for buses. Basically, they kept stopping and getting stuck, and it's like, oh, I want it to be better than this. But anyway, so right, so we need to move the terrain. Well, we don't have to. We can move either, and I can explain how to do either. So if you open the mission group folder there on the scene tree,
okay,
find your floor, and you'll find the player drop points folder. Player is just registering your car being in the game. When you're not running the game, it doesn't have anything to do with the player saved. It's literally all we need is a spawn point, because when the game loads the level, it will then generate your car. So yeah, we need to. You can select the spawn point and bring it down, or you can bring the terrain up to the spawn point. If you click the spawn point and look up, you'll see it up in the sky there.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So, okay. So just for the sake of argument, let's just have the car spawn where the current floor is.
Mm-hmm. So if you move out a bit so you can see your target point and the object you're moving, camera position is very key when you're moving stuff around. It can make things a lot easier. Especially, or actually go up to the spawn point close up actually and look from like a top down-ish view, a diagonal view, so you can see. I can explain the moving reticules there. So just under the mission editor button at the top left, you've got an arrow. You've got the on the left.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You've got
my other left.
Yeah, the arrow. All that does is allow you to select objects. So if you want to delete something, you can select it. You don't have to worry about any of your clickings moving or changing anything if you have that selected. The next one gives you the moving axes, where you can move your mouse onto just the individual poles and move on an axis, or you can move your mouse onto one of the planes and move on 2 axes. So if you move between the red and the green there, or the red and the blue, that will do your Z and Y axes, and that will do your Z and X axes, and then the bottom one will do your X and Y axes, so just on a flat plane. If you click if you use the white block in the middle, that's all axes free. So depending on your camera angle will really depend on where you're able to move it with the mouse. Generally, I always stick to using axes because you know exactly where you are. Then you can hone things in and get them lined up just right.
And yeah, and that's what I do. Like when I go into editor, when I'm setting things up for certain videos, as much as I can, I just actually use the single axis, just because to me it makes it a whole lot easier to put where you want it to go without things wigging out on you.
Yeah, much more precision. Not as much precision as editing the values on the right-hand side where it says position X39. You can be extremely precise there, obviously. But anyway, so the button underneath the move button is the rotate button. Works very much the same, but obviously it rotates things.
Mm-hmm.
There can be a bit of a pain sometimes because once you rotated something, say 45 degrees on its Z, and then you want to turn it over, you have to use 2 axes to kind of work it round. But,
yes.
You know, BeamNG problems. Like,
yes.
The one below it is scale, and that will do. There's the same kind of axes, but they will just increase the size of stuff. Only play with that when you're using shapes like ramps and containers and things like that. Generally, entities and vehicles don't like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I've tried to play with that because I've tried to modify the scale of like a vehicle, and it doesn't like it at all. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, you need to put that just about where you want it. Oh, handy tool. So yeah, obviously we've explained that you could just drag the Z pole and move it to the floor like that. But you can use, whilst we're using a terrain, you can use a terrain tool at the top middle there. There's a magnet with the spanner and then a grid, and in the middle, right next to world settings there. Look, you see you can snap to grid, or you can snap. You can have various snap options. You can do your own thing with it, or you can have snap to terrain, which means the moment you move it, it will move close on the Z to the terrain. So you just move it a touch.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if you move it on its, say, flat axis, Z and Y, even if it's hilly, it will stay just above the terrain no matter where you put it.
Huh. So, that's pretty cool.
Major levels. Especially like putting in features like that. Okay, so now it's there. Now, generally, you have to be careful when you're using the snap to terrain, because some things it's handy to get it there, but some things like vehicles, when you're moving scenario components or something, they'll either be just above or maybe just in the terrain. I like to fine tune it afterwards, turn off snap to terrain, and then just lift it or lower it a bit. Like waypoints, they snap to the terrain just a bit too high. You can see the underneath of the capture zone when you're playing it. So with the spawn point, I'd raise it up a bit, just a touch from where it was, just so the bottom of the diamond isn't in the floor. Right.
Well, in this case, so like the bottom of the diamond here, the pyramid here, and I'm not sure if folks watching the video can see it or not, because it's basically just a shade different than this.
move it away from the car so we can see it a bit clearer.
Oh, I see.
Move the spawn point out. So
I got you.
All inside.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, since everything is green. But the diamond inside is also green, which is funny. But so you're talking about this point right down here at the bottom.
Yeah, that's basically where the bottom of your tires are going to be. Yeah, I always give it the ability to drop 6 inches onto the floor. It's not going to damage the car.
Right.
Maybe the pigeon, but I really wish this diamond had an orientation arrow though, because at the moment your guess is as good as mine which way we're going to be pointing.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. You have no idea.
That way, so we're going to be that way, but you wouldn't know unless we had that car right there. But yeah.
Okay. So we've got that set. Now what do we do?
Save the game.
Okay.
And
just get back into like regular driving mode.
No.
And try spawning it. No.
Don't want to miss anything out if there is anything. Right. Okay. So I guess now we could move on to the terrain editing tools. So if you zoom out a bit and have a look down at your floor, and sort of look away from the car so it's not in our way. Okay. So yeah, bring up the terrain editor button, top left. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll briefly go through what all these do. Some of them are really handy, some of them tool. The top one is the node grab terrain. The whole terrain is made up of a grid that can be stretched and morphed, as you've seen in nearly all the levels. This ability gives you just to be able to grab one vertex and just stretch it and move it where you want. Very good for fine tuning, but I don't think I ever fine tune quite that much at the moment.
Okay.
So if you just want to demonstrate, just dragging, just moving a bit up and down, that's just literally one point of the grid resolution of the grid of the terrain map. So you can just stretch it and pull it. And, yeah, much better for just fine tuning corners or little bits on edges of stuff. I don't know. As I say, I've never really used it, to be honest. You got some nice floor trees there. So to go about it in a bit more smoother and normal kind of way, the button below that is raise terrain, and you have a brush there, and you can hold click, and it will very quickly because the pressure's out. Okay, before we continue with these tools, actually, I'll explain the brush tools. So at the top middle, you've got size, pressure, softness, and height. In the middle there, look, yeah. So size, you can adjust by holding down Control and rolling the mouse button, or you can use these sliders, but it's so much easier when you're working away to use Control. So if you put your mouse in the middle somewhere, and then hold down Control and scroll.
Oh, it's not. Hang on, it doesn't like what I did.
Yeah, still select. Yeah. Okay. You're right. Yeah, and that adjusts your size. And if you do it with Alt, I believe that adjusts pressure. If you hold down Alt instead and then scroll.
No, but it's probably
Control Shift.
I'm sorry, Control Shift.
Yeah, Control Shift and then scroll, and that will adjust the pressure. Those
two
are very important to be able to make your life easier.
Yeah.
With 100% pressure, it was insane. As you saw, it all popped up like crazy. But it's a pressure 1 right to the lowest setting.
Okay.
Yeah, and then try it now.
Ah, yes.
Literally, very gradually, just it gives you a chance to see. Oh no, that's too far actually. Rather than like, oh blimey, I've gone so far, I've ruined all the fine bits done with that bit. Obviously, you can undo, but yeah, I mean,
that is so weird.
And always doing. I mean, it could be a lot easier just to take your time and see. Right now, I mean, that looks kind of like a realistic bit of a hill, not the spiky bits. You know, it's just easy to get that sort of thing in there.
Okay, cool.
Softness, I generally always keep on 100%. That just sits smooth as it's doing whatever you're doing with it.
Okay.
Right, don't worry about height for now. That's in a tool further down the list.
Sure.
So, below the raised terrain, you've obviously got lower terrain, which does the opposite, obviously. Oh yeah, if you drag and move, it generally ups the rate of.
Yeah, I noticed.
Quite quickly. Yeah, it's a bit annoying.
Whoops.
It's very smooth with it. But there's always Control Z. You can always go back several hundred times. I think it's must be about 100. I've done 100 undos before, surely. And then stuff rubbish in the end. Okay, so yeah, I mean, those two tools alone can get you started without a doubt. But when you come to drive on stuff that you've used the raise and lower terrain on, you might find, oh my god, this is so bumpy, there's no way any car can take this for any given amount of time. So we need the smoothing tool. This thing has had a few renditions over the years. As you can see there on the little tool tip there, it says new smooth. So there's smooth flat and there's smooth gradient. Gradient smooth is kind of like to use on the side of hills, but the flat smooth is what you want to use for roads and for flat surfaces. I mean, it is so much better now than it used to be. It used to be you used to have to add, you kind of do still have to add a load of terrain to then minimize it down with the smoothing tool. It's like clay when you're making pottery. You're building it up and you need to add more clay, so you just chuck a load more in and then just morph it in and you can get more. And it ends up being, you know, what you need it to be. So, yeah, always when you're getting jagged edges, it's really handy. And the size counts, giggity. The size really does count as to what it's going to do for you. So bear in mind that if it's really fine, you want to keep it really small. Otherwise it's going to morph stuff on. See, right where your mouse is now, you have that bit of hill, and then just to the left you've got the hill going down the other side, and then further away from us you've got the hill going up a bit and then over. If you have the brush too big and you smooth it, it will just change all of that into one smooth object thing. Whereas if you want it to be fine about it, use a brush like you are now, and it can be really sort of finicky with it and get what you want. But it's so easy to go wrong with it, so easy to go right. It's one of those magic tools. Very, very useful. Right, so you got flatten there, haven't you, from the go?
Yeah.
I was still talking about the smooth new. Just. So
I'm sorry. Yeah, well, we were kind of bouncing.
Yeah, I've done now. I just realised then. But yeah, so I really generally only use this smoother. The gradient smoother, I don't really have any faith in, to be honest. It's not that useful for me. I can do pretty much everything I want to do with the other. So what we got then? Add noise, but that's just chucking loads of spiky bits. I can't see how that's useful at all. Thing, I guess. Just to
show folks, that's what this.
If you make a bigger brush.
Oh.
Scrolls control. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, no. Yeah.
Oh my.
Just hold down and click.
Wait, I want to come over here where I'm not yet, just because. Okay.
See if you just click and hold, it should just go. Bleh. Working. Oh, you got the pressure right down. Control Shift and scroll up.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right. Don't need to apologise. You're learning.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay,
whoops.
That's better than it used to be. It's actually raising up rocky sort of mountains. Oh, it used to just be like crazy spikes, I thought. Very, very early on. I haven't used it since then. That's actually quite good. That's generated you nice little sort of hilly bits.
Well, if you hold it down, it definitely will get away from you.
Drag it. If you drag it, if you hold it in one spot, it's not so bad. But if
yes. You're right. Yes, I forgot. Yep.
It goes at the same frequency as your screen is your frame rate. So every frame it's moved, it's affecting. So it's like.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, tap, drag, and click sort of method.
Okay, that's cool.
It's very useful. Okay, so let's continue with the tools.
Yeah.
We've got flatten. I don't use that really. Well, you can use it. I'm starting to use it with making roads flat because believe me, the hardest thing to get right is roads. Get them smooth and realistic. It's a mission. But there are ways to improve. Like say for instance that was your road. It leaves jagged edges everywhere. You can just smooth around it and add and build it back up. And yeah, it's hard to explain if you have no experience, but excuse me, it can be quite useful. Yeah, see, then that could be a pathway. Okay, so the next tool is another one that I find very useful. It's the set height. So right now it's just set to 100. God knows what 100 means. So if you hold down Alt and then click anywhere on the terrain, say you want to reference that height there, so press Alt and click. Now, if you look in height, it's registered the exact height of that bit you clicked on.
Okay.
Now, if you click and drag anywhere, it will put the terrain at that brush size to that height. regardless. So if you come over a bit that hole, you'll see it will just bring it out the same exact.
Oh yeah.
So no matter where you put it, it will be exactly that height. So that can be useful for doing mountain roads like that.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
And then you can just smooth it all over afterwards, so it's not all jaggy.
And that was with this here.
Yeah.
Ah, yes. Look at that. Cool. We have something of a grassy road. Okay.
Then it'll be all looking much better in a short while. So
all right.
what the next two, those two black blobs? I can't remember what they are.
Clear and restore.
Okay, I don't think.
I'm not gonna play with that. I don't know what they do.
But the bridge height. Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, that says it's the old smooth.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Yeah, don't worry. Oh, that's why it was rubbish, because it just works on averages. Okay, so then the ones below that, these three are quite new. I think newer than the new smoother, actually. These are like a godsend if you're making off-road racetracks.
Oh.
So we need to spawn in a ramp. So we need to go to the mission editor. At the top left, the first tab. Or F1.
Okay.
Keys. Okay, and then go to the library to summon up one of the grid map ramps. So if you go to, basically, this is the directory of your game level, and it will display all the files in it that are relevant to what you can put into the game. So we need to go into our art folder, one that we saved when we cloned, and shapes is where all the objects you expect to find in a level would be.
Okay.
So if we go to MISC,
Okay.
and then find one of the ramps. It doesn't even matter what it is, as long as it's a model. A ramp would be, well, should be
Okay.
there. Yeah. Double click. Yes, it's got textures. I don't look stupid. Right. So then place this on the floor as if you wanted it to be a ramp. So move it into place, put it into the ground.
You're like, just put it somewhere, man.
Yeah, put it in the terrain sort of thing as if it was the jump. Okay, yeah, perfect. That will do just fine.
Okay.
Okay, right, now go back to the terrain editor. Second tab. Yeah. And then we want to use the first of those three bottom tools. The, what does it say?
Align with
Align
mesh.
with mesh.
Okay.
So what that'll do then, if you just cover that and click all over that ramp, it won't edit anything that isn't where that ramp is. So just cover the whole thing. Yeah. Okay. Now go back to the mission editor where we got the ramp from. Top left.
Why am I having a hard time finding the mission editor? Oh, no.
The first one there, next to the terrain editor. That's it. Object. I keep saying mission, don't I?
Okay.
It's object.
There we go.
I think.
That's okay.
Because it's in the mission folder on the side. Anyway, right. Delete that ramp. So just press delete because it's selected.
Delete it from this mesh folder?
No, that's your library. It's if you click scene again. On
Scene.
that,
Okay. And then the TS static.
Yeah. And then press delete.
Okay.
Now what that's done, you might not be able to see it. So if you zoom into where it was, actually it's molded the terrain up exactly.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That model. So now you have a ground model ramp, because ramps, when they're objects, they just act as if they're asphalt and they have basic properties. Where now you have the same ramp, but you can put dirt on it and plants and
Cool.
it's got the ground model properties now.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how happy I was when I found they added. It was like, oh my god. I'll have to show you a map that I used it very much on called Gapville, which is it's like a motocross track almost, but it's designed for cars. You have to go over each jump at just the right speed, and you'll do a big jump over a pit, and you'll land it like smooth as butter. As long as you get it right.
Yeah.
And it can be really difficult to get around once, but when you get it right, it is just beautiful.
That is very
use
cool.
that method with ramps very much to get that to work.
Awesome.
So.
Okay, so I'm out of time. So
Yeah, that's a good place. Cause
can we
just managed to get there to the, the terrain? But the
So-
other tools there, sorry, just to finish, those other two related to the meshes, you can do the opposite. You can put a mesh inside the terrain. You can use align with mesh that one, and it will push it away from the mesh so that it's not within it at all. It's basically the opposite. And I think the one below it does something similar, but that's they basically do. They mold the terrain around meshes, whether it be inversely or exversely.
Cool.
That's the right word. So yeah, next time we can start looking into painting the terrains and adding objects, and then we can go on to scenarios and campaigns and God knows what else. So have you saved?
No. I think I accidentally just. Well,
doesn't matter. You can press F11 again and save.
Okay. There we go. Okay, so Control S.
Better save than sorry.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Okay, so we did this. So now I can get out of this, or I can go back into gameplay mode, and I want to real quickly. I want to. Oh, I guess I could just. Never mind. My brain's not working. Pardon me. Here. There. That's what I want. Just turn that off, and I should be able to hit home to respawn where my spawn point was. Oh, nope. Oh, I probably got to reload the level, don't I?
No, yeah, just do Control R.
Yeah, Control R, yeah.
Or recovery insert.
All right, there we go. And look at there. So I actually spawned in the ground, and so I came up out of the ground, so I know that means I need to go modify my spawn point a little bit, but I mean, it's not bad.
That's because when you landed, the car got crushed and the wheels went up inside the wheel arches. So the hotspot for the car was lower down. So when you reloaded the car, it reloaded the car, but slightly too low down.
Oh, okay.
The spawn point wasn't used there. That was literally just reloading the car.
Okay.
But yeah, that is something you will need to check. And I think you've got it okay from where I can see. But yes, there's a good point to reference. But yeah, not in this instance.
Wahoo! It would also help if I... Yeah, that's right. Oops. Oh, man. There we go.
Control R should have main... Oh, you pressed home, that's why.
Yeah, that's okay.
The original spawn location.
There goes our little jump. Driving around. So there you go. That is the net end result of our first foray into Davidinark attempting to make a map. the basics of a map. So awesome stuff. Cool. Oh, I keep hitting home. Such a habit. Well, there we go. Awesome stuff. Well, that is very cool. So in the next episode, what are we looking at doing?
We're going to be painting the terrain and explaining about ground models, how grass and rocky dirt and rock and asphalt are all different just by painting them, sort of thing. I can explain more about that then.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
So we will have a look at importing objects from other levels and explaining how much of a pain in the bum it can be. The easiest way to go about doing it, i.e. just only import stuff from one other level rather than all of them like I tried, and I was getting some no textures on certain bits of stuff. So yeah, we're going to be doing terrain painting, object importing, and I think that will probably be our next episode, sorry.
Cool. Awesome stuff. Well, I am Davidinark. Thank you so much to HighDef for agreeing to put up with my shenanigans and trying to learn how to make a map and play around with mods. So that is awesome stuff. So we will see you next time here in BeamNG Drive.